Come on, come on. Where is he? I need more oil.
Here it is, looking for this.
Oh, I thought you'd never show.
I could never disappoint you, my most loyal customer.
Wait, stop!
Don't do it!
Don't do it, Joe!
You can't keep doing this to yourself. Joe, we care too much about you to let you go on like this.
What are you talking about?
Fossil fuels. It's time to give them up, Joe.
Yeah, easy for you to say. What about my job? My family would starve without fossil fuel.
Joe, you're absolutely right. Families need to be supported by good jobs. Fortunately, jobs in renewable energy are increasing every year. And the sharp decline in coal has encouraged growth in renewables even more. Just imagine what Alberta could be like if we kicked our addiction to oil and gas.
I've heard all this before. I don't believe a word of it.
Yeah, what are you guys talking about? There's no way that Joe can quit his job, his high-paying job in one of the most lucrative markets in the world.
Not a lucrative world market for much longer, Joe. International support for renewable energy is increasing year by year, even as investment in the tar sands is still yet to recover from record lows.
Don't just take our word for it, Joe. Lots of organizations like Bloomberg New Energy Finance, the International Renewable Energy Association, the United Nations Environment Program have all reported record investments in 2015 for renewable energy. That's created 8 million jobs in renewable energy, even more while oil and gas jobs are falling. And in 2016, investments continued. New investments in renewables still were higher than those in oil and gas in 2016.
And with 139 of the 194 signatories of the Paris Climate Agreement, including Canada, ratifying the goals into law, we can safely say that the world is committed to reducing fossil fuel use.
If you're feeling a little skeptical, Joe, or anyone else out there, you can find sources to all these claims at that table right there.
Well, I didn't know all that, but there's got to be a demand for gas and oil. I mean, look around.
That's right, Joe. We just don't have the same option that other countries do. Fossil fuels are your bread and butter.
We don't have any other options? Okay, let's take solar for one. Do you know which city has the most sunlight exposure in all of Canada?
No.
It's Calgary.
What?
Which, if you set up a solar system in Calgary, it gets you the same amount of power as if you set one up in Miami, Florida.
Wow.
Do you know which city has the third most highest solar exposure?
No.
It's Edmonton,
Wow.
which is comparable to Rio de Janeiro, Brazil.
I didn't know that.
Oh, come on. Would you doubt that Mother Nature would provide for those in need? The investments will definitely be worth it, Joe. Alberta is one of the best places in Canada to invest in solar and wind just based on raw supply alone.
And you do have options, Joe. The Alberta government has pledged to support these industries.
Wait, then why did the government just approve all those pipelines?
Good point. The government knows who pays the bills. There's no way that we can get away from fossil fuels.
Joe, don't believe a word of that. The real truth is that just as fossil fuels pose a threat to our environment, they also pose a threat to our democracy. The huge sums of money controlled by the oil and gas industry have corrupted our government and kept them from honoring their promises.
Yeah, like the promise that Indigenous peoples could have control over their land. Or like they'd halt the expansion of fossil fuel infrastructure, like the pipelines, or that they'd fund the rapid decarbonization in order to achieve the goals we set for ourselves in Paris.
Did you know, Joe, that the federal and provincial governments have given billions in tax breaks and subsidies to the oil and gas sector? But meanwhile, they charge you and people like you for the price on carbon. Their hands are completely tied by this industry.
And all we need to do is look at other countries and lots of well-supported research, Joe, to see that a clean transition is possible.
Well, that's strange, to have a carbon tax but also support oil and gas sector subsidies.
That's true, Joe. Look at this. This last provincial budget is got a huge deficit. It's going through the roof.
Okay, but let's look where that money is going. Families can reduce their costs by taking advantage of the energy efficiency services the government now offers. For free, you can have energy-saving appliances installed in your home.
For free?
All you have to do is just schedule an appointment.
Wow.
And by taking advantage of these and other available supports, families can come together and we'll send a message that speaks louder than any fossil fuel lobby.
Come on, nothing's for free. Everything, we have to pay for everything somehow. The only way we're gonna pay for all this stuff is through expansion of oil and gas infrastructure.
Okay, Joe, I'm going to be realistic with you here. There are going to be some costs and there are going to be some sacrifices in this transition, but look at the other side of the coin. Look at the costs and the sacrifices if we don't transition. Here in Alberta, we've seen wildfires, we've seen floods that are costing our province billions of dollars in damage and insurance, not to mention the trauma and the disturbance it's had in people's lives.
Come on, there's been floods and fires way before climate change.
Okay, so wildfires and floods are a part of Mother Nature's grand plan, but not like this. Joe, I'd recommend you take heed to, well, basically all of the major authorities on this subject. Resource and Environment Canada, IPCC, all of them are saying that climate change is causing drought and dryness and extreme weather events far worse and far more frequent than we've seen before. Not to mention the cost families will have to deal with as food prices rise due to the crop failure and soil degradation, both of which are increasing because of climate change.
My God, I had no idea that climate change was affecting Alberta so directly.
And it's not just you, Joe. These damages and these costs are one of the biggest threats to societies around the world, far more deadly and far more permanent than the temporary price of transitioning to a sustainable economy.
Come on, there's no way you can directly tie this to climate change.
Okay, even if you refuse to believe the climate science, there's still the health effects that are caused by the water and air pollution from fossil fuels. This will take a toll on families' well-being, and the government will have to spend more and more money on health care.
My God, what can we do?
Hey, developing renewable energy can support the sustainable development of local community economies. It's true. Yeah. Families also benefit from local economies, as local economies have proven to be twice as effective at keeping local money in the community. Wow, and local economies are really good for the environment too. Look at water cycles and soil. In general, they're really good for the ecosystems, for agricultural land, but it also transfers to parks and forests too.
And with local ownership, people will be given more freedom and more control, and communities will strengthen.
Oh, that's wonderful. I love visiting the farmers market and exploring Edmonton's river valley systems.
Come on, Joe, don't fall for this. Listen to what they're saying. They're asking you to go back to the Stone Age. There's no way we can fuel our economy without fossil fuels.
All right, take it easy. But seriously, how can I live in a local economy and still support my lifestyle?
Okay, Joe, let's get real. You might have to make a few changes, and you might not be able to live exactly like you're living now. The local economy philosophy doesn't really go hand in hand with this gluttonous, consumerist lifestyle. But you can still live comfortably, just maybe a little differently. Local economies are about resource sharing and about ensuring equal access to food for everyone. We'd be directly addressing poverty here in Edmonton.
Exactly. The thing that your greedy oil friend here never seems to remember is that even at the height of the oil boom, there were people in Edmonton and all throughout Alberta living very difficult lives, while communities were being fragmented and poverty was left virtually untouched by all of the profit.
But again, fortunately, we can strengthen and improve our communities through local ownership of renewable energy and jobs that can keep families together instead of sending people away to work camps.
Come on, you're a good person, Joe. What do you think you're going to do without oil and gas development? How are we going to feed families? And how are we going to provide energy for all these third world countries?
Okay, moving away from fossil fuels is not only great for Alberta, but it also is going to be really great for people in developing countries too.
And you can help these people across the world right now by focusing on kicking your fossil fuel addiction, because it will make the government more accountable, so that they will follow through on their promise to help pay these developing countries to adapt to climate change and promote sustainability.
Okay, forget what I said. Trying to help those countries, they're all just terrorists anyway. And once they get educated, they're just gonna come steal your job.
Oh, enough! Don't let them scare you. Honestly, if we move away from fossil fuels, we're gonna make a safer planet for everyone. Look at climate change is creating drought, which is causing famines, which thousands of people are going without food, scarcity of resources, which naturally turns into conflict. We've also seen rising ocean levels, displaced people. There's tens of millions of climate refugees around the world, and that is only expected to increase tenfold over the next coming decades.
And we're starting to see the effects of this already. Just look at Syria. The devastation would not have been nearly as bad if there weren't millions of drought victims and climate refugees making the area more fragile. And wars between Pakistan and India over water are literally a nuclear threat to the world. But once sustainable economies spread, democracy will strengthen and give real diplomacy a chance.
Ultimately, we will all benefit when decisions are made based in justice and when the health and well-being of both people and the planet is put before profit.
Can you imagine, Joe?
Joe, can you imagine living in peace and harmony with Mother Nature? Isn't it great? It's within our grasp.
You're right. I've had it. I've had it with fossil fuels. I'm never going back. The economic roller coaster, the inequality, the destruction to nature that I love, I've had it with you.
Come on, you can't get me. You need me. You need me.
Joe.
Get out of here!
Well, the oil pusher has concocted quite a tale. A dominant narrative that has been peddled to unsuspecting Albertans for decades. Like Joe, we've all been fossil fueled. But, like Joe, we can recognize the harms of our addiction and take action towards a healthier, more sustainable lifestyle. We may have all been fossil fueled, but the good news is we don't have to stay fossil fuels forever. Thank you again to Earth's General Store for providing the sound system that is powered by solar today, and Bill, who's been doing our sound.
Thank you, Bill.